Alright, today we are on page 547.
Here you go.
No, we're not. We are on page 558.
That's Adrian's.
Special right triangles. Special right triangles, page 558. Alright, in this section there's two types of triangles. There's a 30, 60, 90 and there's a 45, 45, 90. And we've covered the rules related to those triangles, and maybe this time around you'll memorize them. Alright? In a 45, 45, 90, two of the angles are the same, which means two of the sides are the same. So in this case, if these two sides are the same, these two angles are 45 degrees. In a right triangle, if those two angles are 45 degrees, then the two legs opposite them are the same. If this length is x units long, then the length of the other leg is x units long. And in a right triangle with two congruent sides, if a leg is x units long, then the hypotenuse is x times the square root of 2 units long. That's the relationship between the sides. It's a shortcut to finding the missing side lengths of a special right triangle. If you know the length of the hypotenuse, you can divide it by the square root of 2 and it'll give you the length of the leg. If you know the length of the leg, you multiply it by the square root of 2 and it gives you the length of the hypotenuse. So in a picture where you're given any of that information directly or indirectly, if you're given a right triangle and one 45-degree angle and one side, if one angle's 45, the other angle's 45, and the two sides are congruent. So the leg on the right would also be 6, and the hypotenuse would be 6 times the square root of 2. And you can do that in your calculator and round it to the nearest tenth. If you're given the triangle, and you know it has one 90-degree angle, and both sides are the same, then you know that both of these angles are 45 degrees, and the hypotenuse is equal to that leg times the square root of 2 again, so 5 times the square root of 2. If you're given the right triangle, or if you know it's a 45, 45, 90, and you're given the hypotenuse, if you're just given this picture, it's a right triangle, both of the legs are congruent, so it's a 45, 45, 90, and the leg is equal to the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. And you do it in your calculator and round it to the nearest tenth. $7.1. The second type of special right triangle is a 30, 60, 90. If you're given a triangle and it's a right triangle and one of the angles is 30, the other angle has to be 60 because the angle's got to sum 180. The two acute angles have to sum 90. So this is a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. The short leg is always opposite the small angle. So if this short leg is x units long, then the hypotenuse is equal to 2 times x units long. The hypotenuse and the short leg. Hypotenuse is twice as long as the short leg. Short leg is half the length of the hypotenuse. That's their relationship. The long leg, that's the leg across from the 60-degree angle, is always the short leg times the square root of 3. So in these type of problems, you're going to be given, the information that you're usually given is something like, you'll be told the triangle is a right triangle. And you could be given one of the angles. You can be given one of the sides and asked to find the other leg of the hypotenuse. In this case, the short leg x is equal to 12 divided by the square root of 3. And you type it in your calculator. $6.9. There's your short leg. The hypotenuse is going to be equal to the 6.9 times 2. 13.8. There's your y value and there's your x value. And those are the rules that you need to memorize. You don't have to use the Pythagorean theorem when you're dealing with special right triangles. You can use the rule. Does everybody understand that? So when you're finding these, like if you're given the long leg and you need the short leg, write it out this way on your paper first and then type it in your calculator. Okay? That way you've got the simplest radical form, and that's actually not simplest, but at least you got this on your paper. And if you get it wrong, we can figure out what you did wrong. The long leg divided by square root of 3 equals short leg. Short leg times 2 equals hypotenuse. Got it? Alright, your practice problems for today are on page 562. Eight through 25. Page 562, 8 through 25.